Hey everybody, welcome to Steampup Studio. Thank you for purchasing our Minimalist Wallet pattern online. Today I'm going to walk you through how to make it. I realize the instructions are on the printout of the actual pattern that you purchased, but sometimes a video is a little bit more fun. Let's go! Start by printing out your pattern, making sure that it's set to 100% of the size. Then carefully cut it out using scissors or an X-Acto blade and a ruler, as I'm doing here. Once cut out, place the piece on your leather and scribe out the edge. Then carefully mark your stitch holes with your awl. You can see here how the holes have been marked on this piece. After that, carefully cut out the rest of your leather pattern. Then use your awl to punch out the holes so they're a bit bigger, making it much easier to stitch. After that, grab the outer sleeve and bevel the entire perimeter of it. Once that's finished, grab the two inner sleeves, and you're going to want to bevel the top portion of each sleeve. For this bevel, make sure that you're starting and stopping at the very first topmost stitch, as you can see here, 1 and 2. Flip it over and bevel the bottom edge as well. Again, do this for both sleeves. Once finished, grab your favorite burnishing fluid. I like to use Tokonol. You're going to put a little bit on your finger or however you want to apply it, and do the inner cutout of the outer sleeve. Grab your burnishing tool, give it a burnish, and it'll make it a nice finish. Then you're going to do the top and bottom portion as well. We're burnishing this stuff now because once the wallet is assembled, it's going to be impossible to burnish it. Just like that, nice finish. After that, grab your contact cement and the inner sleeve and start putting contact cement where your stitch holes are. Be sure to do this for both pieces. Once it's dry to the touch, take the two pieces and assemble them together, carefully lining up the edges and pinching as you go along. The more careful you are in this step, the better it's going to look. Give it a good pinch all the way around, and voila, your two sleeves are ready to go. And now we're ready to stitch. To do a saddle stitch, you're going to need 2 needles, your scissors, and your wax cord. Pulse the cord to the appropriate length you need for the length of your entire stitch. Sometimes it will be long, so make sure you have enough. Then feed the thread through the eye of the needle, like so. Then take the tip of the needle and puncture the thread through the middle. Slide the thread through the back and over, and pull it to cinch tight. Your needle is threaded. Do the same for the other side. Other leather workers may do a double puncture, creating an S before sliding it down the needle and over the end. Though in all my years of sewing, I've never had a problem with doing it once only. So do what works for you. And there you have it. Your needles and thread are ready for your saddle stitch. Load your project into your stitching pony or just hold it in your hands. For the bottommost edge of the inner sleeves, you're going to want to start 1 hole over. Find the middle of your thread and start your saddle stitch. The saddle stitch is essentially a crisscrossing of threads. You go through one side with one and back through the other with the other end of the thread. Once you pull it through, you're going to cinch it tight. Then complete this for the entire run of the bottom stitch on the inner sleeves. When you get to the end, we're going to want to do a lock stitch by going back 1 more stitch. This essentially holds it in place and prevents it from unstitching. In this area, we only need to do a single lock stitch because the outer sleeve covers it and it's essentially impossible for it to come apart. Cut your thread with scissors, and then use a lighter to lightly and carefully melt that wax cord down. Tap it with your finger, flip it over, and do the other side, all while being careful not to burn the leather. Pinch between your thumb and index finger, and it's nice and secured. And there you have it. Next, we're going to grab our burnishing fluid again, and we will burnish this bottom edge. I like to use a cotton cloth from an old t-shirt and my burnishing tool to achieve this. The cotton cloth absorbs some of the excess, and the burnishing tool gives it that nice shine. Next, grab your contact cement and run the cement down the stitching holes of the inner sleeves that you've now stitched together. There are 4 sides, so make sure you get all 4, and make sure you're staying 1 hole down from the top with your glue. We want to make sure that glue is not visible when you assemble your final product. Set this aside to dry. Now grab the outer sleeve and put your contact cement along the stitching holes on both sides of the outer sleeve. Once they're both dry, we're going to assemble. Take your outer sleeve and line it up with the second hole down from the top on the inner sleeves. This is where your holes will be for your final stitching, so make sure that everything lines up perfectly. Then flip it over and start at the top again and work your way down. Do not start from the bottom up to the top, or your tops will not line up and it will be uneven. You need to make sure that all of the holes line up. Give it a good pinch and it's ready to do the final sew. Drop it back in your stitching pony, and for this stitch we are going to start 1 stitch from the top. This creates a lock stitch and it's a little bit more durable. I like to have linesman's pliers handy because sometimes when you get to thicker chunks of leather, it's hard to pull the needle through with your fingers. Stitch all the way down, and when you get to the end, you're going to want to backtrack by 2 stitches. This creates our lock stitch on the end. Cut your threads. Here's a close-up, 1, 2. Burn it again, being careful not to burn the edges of the leather. Then grab your sanding tool and start sanding the edges. After you've sanded it all down, wipe away the excess, and you're ready to burnish. Again, the burnishing process here is the same for all other edges. I apply a healthy amount of burnishing fluid. I hit it with the cotton scrap from an old t-shirt, and then I use the burnishing tool to burnish it and make it shiny. To finish this off, I like to use beeswax around the edge. I'll rub the beeswax in, and then I use my cloth to rub it really aggressively. This essentially melts the wax and seals that edge up. And there you have it, your finished wallet. Thank you for supporting Steampup Studio.